indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Some of this minutes.
Make motion that we approve them.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Well,
All in
that's
favor?
right.
Fine.
That's what she said, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's all right.
22nd, correct?
Oh, the claims I'm not done going over that. Wait.
Well, I have one for probably when Myron comes in
Okay.
on that. Page 4 is, light repair, secondary roads, $3,100.
Oh, no, that will be the lights like at the Atkins.
Oh,
Atkins,
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
intersection.
okay.
We also got the lights that's got the batteries in, the solar deals for the stop, like the curve north of Newhall.
Well, that all makes sense then.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
They were having trouble with that light there outside of Atkins there. They replaced the bulbs. Evidently, there's 4 bulbs in there, of course, because it's a 4-way stop. We replaced the bulb on one side, the following week, the opposite side is out. And they fought it and fought it and fought it. I'm guessing they probably bought a new one, fixture up there and replaced everything.
Okay.
I had maintenance, caught my eye, utilities.
Oh, yeah, $4,000.
Well, no, $211, $230. I was asked Rick this morning here,
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
they were-
courthouse meeting.
yeah, how warm were they keeping that? Well, he's gonna check in on heat readings, that'd be a mistake.
Yeah, I thought it was secondary roads.
No.
I'm sorry, because it was 4,600.
I love it. Well, shall we go ahead and start?
Okay. So we are here about an awesome opportunity that came knocking for county conservation. So this is
Thank you.
like a mile and a half south of Urbana, that Wildcat Bluff Recreation Area. I think you guys have seen maps throughout the last year about this property.
I think we drove by it on our tour, didn't we?
Yes, yeah, actually we went to it, and that's one with the trails and the disc golf. So, we were approached by Wendling, saying that they would like to sell the property to us, which was one of the most exciting things that's happened, I think, in a really, really long time. So, fortunately, Heritage Foundation stepped in and they put their they did a lot of negotiating for us and everything, and we have come to you to share this amazing opportunity to more than double the size of our Wildcat Bluff recreation access. Oh, there he is.
Hang on.
You want to share that with you?
Oh, yeah.
Gotta wait for it to turn green.
Alright, whatever. Oh, yeah, that's right, yes. It's fine.
Gotta
I
get
mean,
the card.
not that it matters how big it is, but. Oh, I didn't have the secret passcode.
Now you can start over.
Okay. I'll wait till it gets settled.
Good morning, Gary.
Morning.
Okay, Gary, we were just looking at that map in front of you. That's Wildcat Bluff, just south of Urbana. And that's where we went for the property tour when we got out and kind of walked around a little bit and crossed that bridge. I don't know if you remember that or not, but we have the amazing opportunity to more than double the size of our property there, kind of putting us almost at a state park level, which is really exciting. So our Wildcat Bluff Recreation area access will be a little over 300 acres with this acquisition. And Heritage Foundation has fully supported us along the way and agreed to be that middle person. So we just wanted to share our exciting news with you guys and see if you guys had any questions and open the floor up.
Well, just a couple quick items. Because Wendling approached us first, it wasn't gonna go to market, so allowed us to they basically said, hey, tell us what it's worth to you, and this is really kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to purchase an adjoining piece of property to one of our large county parks already. And so we had to keep it quiet while we kind of set up the negotiations and trying to figure out what that price would be and where we would kind of, finally be able to start to seek any kind of funding for this. But the fact that this adjoins Wildcat means that we're not having to put any more resources towards this. It's literally just a turnkey portion of what the park there already exists. And there's some opportunities in the future to add different things to it, but at this point we're just looking at the acquisition only. So really what it comes down to is we believe that this can be funded through grants and support we've already, without even listing it and seeking out support. We've already got a commitment of over $125,000. And so it's exciting. As soon as, after today, our goal is that we want to go out and really start to find those people that are willing to donate to this project and make it all happen for us.
So it's the 184 acre tract, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You have somebody, or you've got commitments for 125,000 now.
Mhm.
What's left? How much are we talking?
Not well. Would be
What's your total?
my math. 1.2 million.
Is that all?
Yes. So with that, we do have 125 commitment, and that's kind of without asking around or asking anybody or searching out. And then we will be applying for the REAP grant this fall, which is up to $900,000.
Up to 900.
Of course, we'll try to raise more than the 125. We haven't even, sought out opportunities yet. So
Because you're going to have 1,075,000 at this point in time.
mm-hmm.
That's chunk of change.
It is.
Wow. And are they willing to wait? I mean, give you some sort of commitment that if you get this $900,000 grant, that then, or you have to commit now at the 1.2? I see
Commit
head
now.
shaking,
We have to
but
commit
that was
now.
two questions.
Yeah, so this is we can't apply for REAP until the property is owned. So yeah, we have to commit to purchasing the property first, and then we'll be able to apply for REAP following.
Wow.
Was that in the stipulation, I assume?
Yeah. The REAP grant has a huge portion that's based on like urgency or you can't just apply and then hope a property pops up. You have to have something in mind. So which we kind of love support to apply for REAP because this property fits perfectly in with its objectives.
The farm ground
Yes.
in the flat there.
Mhm.
Have you discussed this yet with Heritage? They will get whoever ends up farming it. I'm hoping you are gonna farm it this year.
That has not been discussed yet because this all just happened last week.
Okay.
So what's the tillable?
15 acres roughly. It's like 13 to 15, and it's
Yeah.
it's a CSR 42. It's a
You're not gonna get
floodplain.
rich quick. huh?
No, it's a floodplain. Yeah, it actually goes under most of the time. I don't know, Leila, is there water in there right now?
Yeah.
Again, so there's water sitting in the field right now. So,
Really?
yeah, it goes under every year, I think.
So Heritage would fund this?
And then we pay them back. Like, they purchase.
Dollar down, dollar when you catch me kind of deal.
Yeah.
Wow. Do they charge us interest?
They will, they can. That's one of the many things that we look at when we're looking at funding is trying to build that into cost. So like the REAP grant will ask for a breakdown. So if interest is part of it, REAP will cover it. You can use that funding towards interest rates. I'm not sure what the current, what we'd be looking at for how much. It just depends. I don't know if that makes any sense.
You have plans on what to do with the 184 acres additional?
Yes, so right now, as Randy had mentioned, it'll be a turnkey project, so it, as is usable. The first thing that we would do is get the interior fences taken out to open it up, and then develop trails that double as fire breaks. And that would be our first and foremost goal and objective, is to accomplish that. So then we can very easily manage it, and it can be used by the public almost immediately for public hunting and hiking. From there, we're gonna have to look, 5 and 10 year goals for the property. Eventually, other outdoor recreation will most likely be added. It's just depending on what, because it has a lot of potential, but we don't want to commit to anything, without proper planning. So
One of the groups that flagged us on this property, because it's just one of these things that we weren't seeking to purchase additional, but this came to us, and the Co-College actually has reached out because there's the vernal pool is the right word, but there's potentially an endangered spotted newt that's on the property. So their biology department would like to do kind of an evaluation of the area to see if this actually exists. And so there's, wildcat already gets a lot of use from the disc golfers. In fact, it's now ranked 13th in the world. But one of the thoughts we've already had is that probably we're not going to expand the disc golf, that it just becomes public access and public ground for everybody else. So just based on the initial level of interest, again, without being able to start seeking any funding or donations, just between Co-College, Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation, there was so much support for this project that we, like you, we're trying to find all the ways to shoot this opportunity down. But ultimately, the support was so great, we just said we can't turn our backs to this, because if we don't get it, then it disappears and we never have a chance again, ever.
not to mention that our ranger residence, Layla's house, is on the property.
Yeah.
So we would have had to
Yeah,
have parceled
I was
off
familiar
something.
with that. Yeah, you got to buy a chunk of it.
Yeah, and have it surveyed and all of that.
I get
so.
that. Yeah.
And
I'm not trying to shoot you in the foot or the head.
No, but that's
No,
what we did.
I
We did it
don't want to be
ourselves.
shot in the billfold.
Yeah.
right, yeah. That's fair.
Wow, 1.2, that's a chunk of change. So, and you have how long to?
2 years.
2 years.
You have 2 years to,
To purchase it through Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation.
okay, they give you 2 years to pay for it.
Yes.
How long is your option to buy?
Heritage.
Heritage is already
Heritage.
purchased.
Heritage is gonna own
They
it.
already purchased it?
They purchased it from Weldon Quarries.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't gather that.
Yeah, they own
I thought.
Well, I don't think that it's like closed.
No, it's not.
No, I think
final.
there's a purchase agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not final. Funds has been exchanged.
Right, none of that, but it literally
Papers
just
have been signed.
Really?
for a purchase
Yeah.
agreement.
Literally just last week was when all this, that's why we wanted to get on the agenda
Was
because
this subject to,
So like the REAP
Nothing?
grant, like,
Nothing.
say you wouldn't qualify this year, can you still apply for that next year
Yeah.
then too?
Yep, absolutely. You can apply multiple years in a row.
The amounts would be,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're gonna have to make this a little clearer. Heritage has signed an option to buy, and it is not subject to anything. If you want, Heritage just owns it. Boom.
We have a, right, we can back up a bit, we don't have to, we're not required to, they own it, and in 2 years, we don't raise the money, they can do whatever with it.
That's how confident they are, I think, on how good of a purchase this is.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any problems if it's grants and, donations, et cetera. I just would have a problem committing $1.2 million of tax money.
it's
Not what we're asking for.
Okay. Well, it's nice to know kind of the rest of the story, Paul
Okay.
Harvey.
Right.
Yeah.
No, our goal is that this is gonna be grants and donations that pays the entire purchase price.
And you have 2 years to,
And we've got 2 years to do it, and
so is this a purchase option of Benton County Conservation? You have 2 years to come up with the funding, and if you do not, but I thought you had to own it in order to get your REAP grant.
Natural Heritage Foundation has to own it with our commitment.
Okay, so you can apply for the REAP with them owning it.
Right.
Mhm.
Kind of the same principle they did with,
I get that out of
The
there.
fan, yeah.
Yeah, but we weren't,
and the Shane, right?
Yeah.
And that's where, having gone through that project, it's really what kind of boosted our confidence in the ability for people to donate towards this, because that again, was a separate piece, but it was kind of a standalone piece. The interest that this property has already, without anybody really even knowing about it, again, we couldn't risk any of the negotiations with it to tell anybody, but we've already received so much interest in this property is what's really given us the confidence that even though the 1.2 million sounds like a big price, it's a huge price tag, the confidence we have to be able to raise the money to pay that in 2 years is extremely high. And just putting the feelers out, the connections that we have, there's already interest in that. National Wild Turkey Federation as an example. If we had property at potential turkey hunting, had these factors is their interest, and there is. Pheasants Forever has already been a great sponsor, so there's groups that either have donated in the past or that this project fits perfectly with what their goals are.
well, Tracy, with you being, on that conservation committee, board, whatever you may want to call it, you have more insight here than Gary or I.
Right.
I had no clue that this was kind of already a done deal. So,
It just happened last week.
okay, but, so you're looking for, what, a nod from us to file for a grant? I mean, you're your own commission, aren't you?
Well, we are, but mainly, we just want to make sure we're notifying you, keeping you up to date on what we're doing in our department. And the fact that we couldn't, it's like, you're just asking Tracy, yeah, we've had discussions, but we haven't been able to come forward to share any of this information until last Wednesday or Thursday was literally when Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation reached out to Shelby and go, okay, our board has met on this. We've approved the project, we're ready to go. And so that's where we scrambled, and we appreciate you meeting early to do so. Our goal is just simply to let you know before it starts going out, that we start to fundraise for this.
Yeah, because there'll be articles, there'll be newspaper and different things, and we wanted to make sure that, phone calls start coming around that we already met with you guys, let you know about it.
Are you gonna have to hire more personnel to take care of the additional land?
No,
I mean, conservation, I don't know how many acres you've got, but I mean, it's a chunk,
Around 1,600 acres.
like 1,600.
the beauty of what this is it's adjoins current conservation property. Layla lives there, so we don't have to move equipment in.
Most of it's
Will do.
timberland anyway, I get that.
Yeah, there'll be, a controlled burn probably this spring, summer to start doing an inventory of plants, but really beyond that, there's no extra staffing that's gonna be required to add this in.
And then putting up respect private property signs, little stuff like that, which we can send a seasonal on this summer. So,
Well, if I seemed like I was trying to shoot you down, it's because I thought you were asking for 1.2 million.
Oh.
No, we should.
we're just so excited to
Yeah, okay.
share it. I might have grazed over that, my bad. But if you happen to have 1.2, I'll take it.
Sure. I'll take a check.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Gary?
I think it's quite an undertaking. And with those species that are, I don't know what they are.
Threatened or endangered. Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to have a place for those species. And if Go College is looking at it, it's a good deal.
Yeah, I think they're wanting to bring, a couple of the professors are wanting to come out and have it kind of be a project site for them.
This piece is also the first Indian mound ever located in Benton County sits on this 184 acres. So there's also that part of the history that this helps protect.
The
I know
state
there's
archaeology.
other Indian mounds. But, I mean, yeah, that's important too.
Well, I guess all we can say is thanks for coming in.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Yes.
You gotta be thinking now, don't know, throwing it out here. Different projects in the county that we gotta deal with. We always gotta go to, I can't think what that official name is, but it's the Indian tribal whatever, get permission to dig or do whatever. I wonder, since there is an Indian mound on there, would they be willing to open up their checkbook to help preserve this?
So I am in contact with the state archaeological office, that office, and they sent me some information. They've sent me some letters. They even have a letter of recommendation for us to acquire the property, which is great. One of the things that we have to look into, kind of, if that were the case, we would probably have to circle that property off, and they would own that section within our section. We would still probably manage it, take care of it, and everything else, but that's kind of how that works. Johnson County actually just did this, so that's why I asked about it. They purchased the 2-horse farm. I don't know if you guys heard about that. Pretty big acquisition, huge acquisition, and there was about 9 acres. Do you guys remember that from the District 6 meeting? 9 acres, roughly, kind of in the middle of it, that was tribal, and so they kind of helped purchase, but that 9 acres then in the agreement is theirs. It's tribal land. So that might be how that would go if we do that. Which we could. It's
Throwing
just-
it out there.
yeah, and it just kind of depends. It would just be something that it'd be minimal maintenance. We already have a couple of other locations that we manage mounds, and it's once a year check basically. It's pretty simple. So
I was just thinking we had the tower east of Benton here, I had to sign off on that. And out here at Rogers, same
Right.
way.
no, sure, for digging and
Yes,
Yeah.
putting them towers up, we had to make sure.
well, because you're on the top of a hill too, right?
Yeah.
So there's Paha, yeah. Yeah, so that, any development we do here, we will have to have that involvement because of the mounds for sure, so.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you coming
Anything
in.
else?
Thank you.
Eric? Okay, thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Keep us informed,
Yeah, definitely.
or I'll keep me informed, I'll keep you
Yeah.
informed now that I can.
Yeah, no, thank goodness, this
And I
has been,
assume when we're about to spending voting on the Supervisors grant, I do have to amend for that
Yes.
portion.
yep, so hey, you guys will probably have budget amendments from me between this and the shop, depending on grant cycles and stuff like that, so just, yeah. Perfect, yeah, because the grant isn't due until August 15th,
Right.
so it'll
it's
be,
part of-
it'll probably be November or something. We'll be doing a big budget amendment. We'll see. Either that or I can get them the right check the right way, I don't know. How's it going? Not bad. Warming up your seat?
He didn't hear you. Did you, John?
No, I did not.
Just agree.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys, have a good day.
Bye-bye. You tell me.
All right.
Hello?
Probably got more rhetoric.
Yeah, the only question I had, have you looked at it? It's stapled, so you can go back.
Get
What
worse.
is this?
Well, the one I marked, they just told me that's lighting for the intersection of Blairstown.
That's one light?
No.
We don't know.
No, Tracy said it's multiple lights
Yeah.
and such through the county that they had to fix.
I didn't get here this morning.
Yeah. But you can start at the beginning.
Still ain't lit up very good.
I won't be until all said and done. That light there kind of shines straight down too, you know.
But I
You got a liquor license here? Oh, there you go. Go ahead, finish that. How's our sheriff doing, John?
He's in good spirits, but they still can't figure out what's going on.
You still in there?
Still in there.
And then let's discuss that public.
Didn't say anything.
What was the liquor license for Cherry Hills? You want this now? Tracy.
Ready to do that, are you, Tracy?
Yeah, whichever one you wanna do first.
What do you mean? Well,
Is it claims? You
No.
done with the claims?
no,
Okay.
it's not done. Make a motion, we approve the Class C liquor license for Cherry Hills Country Club.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Accept Mindy's resignation. And what
Do
about-
you have that?
The board actually has some letter I got. We have the letter and then that's who applied.
Here's that one.
Mhm.
Yes, we are.
Getting some goodies.
No, I haven't. They did a video deal last year, and he was so wired for sound. Man, oh man, I've never seen him so happy in my life.
Keep you hopping. Did you ever see him?
Yep,
Oh.
he was just wild.
Mhm.
Hey.
How's everyone?
Good morning.
All right.
Hey.
Thanks for coming in earlier, guys.
Support edible.
Any questions on your claim? He's got one. Yeah. You don't have any questions?
I'll make a motion, we accept Mindy Fisher's resignation and appoint Caitlin Emmerich as her replacement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Done deal. Good. Good one,
That's what you think about.
okay, Gary's done with claims.
So,
Myron,
do you have questions?
I got mine answered when Rick, maintenance was in there.
Okay, good. All
I was
right,
gonna check in on that one, so.
and I'll ask Myron what they fixed.
Okay.
I thought for sure it was shop lights, I thought, oh my
I
God,
don't believe so.
yeah. I hope
We
not.
did have
Wait.
another person.
For what system?
Well, that's, you want to make this easier on that.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion, we
Claims.
approve the claims.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. There you go, can get to it now.
Yep, all of us.
Okay, this is fine. This is what I'm looking for.
Okay, so I was gonna go through that. I don't have it on the agenda yet, but I'll
No,
go through.
no, you don't need it because this will go to, Larry.
No, no, well, is that the one you thought you should be on?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because eminent domain is different than how. But you're thinking the other,
Yeah, I'm thinking the other. He's willing to do that.
is that, is that right?
Yes,
Oh, I bet he would, okay.
yes.
You want me to
Because
share
Larry
that?
asked me yesterday, yeah.
Okay.
If you give
Maybe
that to
that's why
Larry,
he come in and he didn't describe it properly, okay.
give that to Larry, you know, that, I can run it up. I
Oh,
gotta
it's-
go to the courthouse too anyway, so
It's fine,
I'll take it up there.
just, yeah, he probably just put the wrong
Okay.
board on
Okay. here yet. This is that Bonnie new company that we got. I'll have to fill it
Oh,
out.
that's what that was,
Yeah,
for right now.
yeah.
Do you want Scott to fill it out, or?
I really don't care, even Nancy can fill it out.
Okay.
I'll sign it. You want me to take that up there too?
Oh, I can take it back, if you want to come up, but you can go ahead and sign it, and then. Yeah,
Is that kosher to sign?
yeah, because if we have to put the price in, which, speaking of that,
I
anyway,
do it all
Scott,
the time.
Scott thinks our master tower is on that list twice,
All right,
you know, that insurance property list,
yeah,
because it had two different addresses, but it's the same value.
On which,
The master tower on the Heartland property stuff, the listing,
yeah, what has two different addresses?
the master tower,
Okay.
and the same amount, so. I gave him the contact to double check. What is it?
Really sure, Carol.
So then we would have to- So, because they had it listed differently.
What's that for? That looks good. Up here.
Water.
how about any, reports last week? You're like. Yeah, anything, Gary? No?
That's since last week, the other day.
Wow, this chair.
Oh, yeah, 'cause I can know that. You want me to put in the second status then? See the project name?
I can put a question.
Yeah. Fever.
Okay, that's not done
Shot you in a couple of your bag after a while.
We did actually go, I see 200,000 more than what the project was.
yet on that.
Yeah. I thought we did. Now, we added in some extra. No report? That was Shelburne. I tried to answer it.
You're gonna do that yet.
That's an acre. That was all it takes. They kind of give me a heads up, they will be contacted sometime this year, or later on, housing expansion in Shelburne coming down the pipeline. Maybe something else that will, we really can't say no, I guess.
Informative meeting.
Yeah, so that was good. And yesterday, with the towers again. Remember how many discussions and trips I've made up here about the mud and the gravel and all that?
Did you check?
No, we shut them all down last Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
But come to find out, the company that's gonna set the concrete buildings in next to the towers, they're in charge of putting the driveways in. Their bid is the contract that we signed, it's figured in there for the rock and everything to do it.
Okay.
So it's out of our hands now. I mean, it's already bid into the project.
So it's a matter of contacting them to get the rock, put the road in,
Correct.
drive, so that they
So
can
it ain't
come
gonna
and
be
set.
no above and beyond the bid.
Okay.
So that was a good thing. But
Well, it's-
They,
Yeah.
Raycom should have knew this.
Yeah, why didn't they?
The company that, putting buildings in, they're the ones that said, well, you're putting the towers up, can we start putting the buildings, bring the rock in and doing the buildings, and like, oh, you're doing the rock?
Are they gonna put that in down at Norway as well?
Rock? Yep. And see, then I got in the middle of that last week. Alliant Energy in the next 3 days, that email was sent out Monday, so maybe by Thursday, they're gonna come in and actually drop the lines between the two poles. So they can come in with a big crane and they can actually assemble it all together and set it up in two
One
poles.
insert.
So, there again, I'm somewhat in the middleman again on that too,
Ballot box.
on this, but I contacted,
You still
I
will.
sent right now email yesterday about that they were gonna come with a,
Hi, Myron, how are you?
other change order signed because this Alliant Energy, and I said, I can solve that. Alliant can bill us directly.
Didn't they sit here and say, there's no more change orders? Okay, that's why the surprise last week with needing rock, obviously we don't. And now Alliant Energy and having a change order. I was worried about their change orders. But, you know,
No change order, no change order, we're just gonna get the bill directly from Alliant.
well, it's kind of like the same thing. Yeah, just round back.
I'm hoping that Alliant will treat us better.
Well, I think they would, because there's no use in flipping it off to somebody, they flip it off to somebody. So,
Mine are more like that.
Sure is like dread piling out more talent for this project. First item, USA Communications, in the bill plan exchange, they're putting fiber line in, big in town, but they're going out of town. Permit to go east of the hog buying station, south of the high school, west of the high school, across the road to the north side is city, the south side is county, and then east from Pierce Lumber out to the T intersection. Okay, they're working elsewhere in the county, and I've had no problems with their
Approved.
the crew. So I recommend approving that utility permit.
Make a motion that we approve that utility permit for USA Communications.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If you want to say how it's Round Bell Plain or Iowa Township, is how I had it.
I'll put it outside.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Friday, while I was visiting with the consultant that does bridge inspection, I was reminded of a couple bridges that they had looked at recently and had some concern that they would prefer some either additional weight limits thrown on them or some weight limits. So I've got two resolutions. One that identifies two bridges that are currently posted for a weight limit, but to lower the weight limit. One up in Cedar Township on 16th Avenue. We got this. Do you want that exactly or not, but it'd be a mile and a half roughly south of the pavement on 16th Avenue. It's currently posted 6 tons, recommending dropping it to 3. And then down in Leroy Township, by the railroad tracks on 17th Avenue, the UP, that bridge is currently posted 15 ton for a dump truck, 24 ton for a semi. They're recommending that we go to the 10 ton on the semi, or 10 ton on the dump truck, 15 ton on the semi. 15 ton then would be for the trailer pull, which would be either a trucking pump or a tractor blade.
One street address on Leroy.
17th Avenue, right at the Union Pacific Railroad.
And I'll make the motion that we change those bridge embargoes. Both Cedar and Leroy Township.
Second. All in favor? Resolution.
Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye. Are these on the list to be rebuilt then? They are in our program, I'm trying to remember, I think one of the two is being in the design phase right now. The other one, I think is probably 3 or 4 years out.
One's 3 ton, that can't be very good, that bridge.
No.
Yeah.
That's the one that, I think is in the middle of the design phase right now, either got 2 consultants working on it right now, I'm trying to remember which one's which.
Sure.
Doing which, but I know that one in Cedar goes on the shorter list to get replaced. And then 2 other bridges that they reminded me of that due to their recent inspection are not posted, but would recommend a posting to go on that. One is in Big Grove Township on 17th Avenue. Posting it with a 3 trucks on board, 3740. So that would be 22 tons for the dump truck, 37 tons for the semi. And another bridge is Fremont 5052, which would be on 33rd Avenue, just south of Highway 30. That one similarly, no posting at the moment, 22 tons for a dump truck, 37 tons for the semi, and 37 tons for a truck and trailer.
I was signing things, I didn't get those.
Those 2
locations.
should. First one was on 17th Avenue in Big Grove Township.
Okay.
And the second one was in Fremont Township on 33rd Avenue. Just south Highway 30.
Those are not being posted.
They're currently not posted.
And they are being posted.
Recommending a posting. Both of them are also in the 5-year plan for replacement. The conditions of the timber piling on them are starting to show their wear and tear, and to try to salvage them as long as we can.
There's a motion that we approve those 2 bridge embargoes, the tonnage, obviously for Big Grove and Fremont.
Second.
Primer, aye.
Your shake eye.
Seaman, aye. And last, Pete's Edition subdivision, there's a bridge there on 75th Street between the addition and the T intersection, that bridge to be replaced with a twin box culvert. We signed those plans last year, or a year and a half ago. They didn't do it last calendar year. The late start date was gonna be April 3rd, but yesterday they called me and asked if they could start on Monday. So I've got a temporary road closure, resolution to temporarily close that, for that project during construction.
Any idea how long you're gonna have it closed?
If they work as same contractor and subcontractor that did the twin box on 59th Street to Rail, and that project was closed for 8 weeks. That was slightly bigger than this one and involved more road work, dirt work, so I'm forecasting 6 to 8 weeks.
So they're putting a box culvert in there by Pete's Hill?
Yep.
Tear that bridge out?
Twin box culvert, yep.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be really deep and we're taking.
8 foot tall, 10 foot wide is each cell on the box culvert.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion that we do a temporary road
Second.
closure on 75th Street. Primer, aye.
Your shake eye.
Seaman, aye.
There could be election people calling
Had a question for you, Myron.
Mhm.
The lighting work that was done, secondary roads, where it was like $3,100. Where was that? Was that at intersections or? Okay.
AW Electric, is that?
Correct, correct.
Yes. Bulbs, ballasts, or labor and equipment from them at the intersections. Look at which ones I had last look at now. With Highway 30, or I know there was one down at 151 and E66 west of Walford. But right now we have, what, 4 intersections on Highway 30 that have those overhead intersection lights, down south of Norway and Walford, and then up on Walker.
Okay, thank you. I was kind of curious.
Mhm.
Thought maybe you're replacing shop lights. It's like, holy cow.
Sometimes we do that work ourselves, but we've had enough equipment maintenance and fixing to do in the shop that it's been quicker to just have to keep it to do some of that for us.
And it's hard to be everywhere.
Yeah, that's all I had for you guys today.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Keep moving. Okay, Ray.
I'm here on regarding the county mental health advocate. Definitely reading. This issue came to my attention back in January when Norma Hawkins, the regent, came to me and said that she wanted Bethany to be supervised by her, and that she had a memorandum of understanding basically saying that Bethany was to report to her. So I did some research, and Iowa Code 22919 is the mental health statute in Iowa, and it clearly says.
Hey, wait a minute,
High school.
you're starting the wrong one, bud.
I have you
You
as
got
for the section.
Ron Tibbet and you of the victim witness
Oh,
abuse.
I have it
That's
on
the
my
one we're
calendar.
gonna talk about.
Okay, I have it on the calendar the other way around.
Okay.
Riverview is the current sexual assault advocate for Benton County, and there have been some significant frustrations with delivery of service. I met with these ladies a week ago and tried to discuss, resolving, because I think law enforcement has lost confidence in them. And they agreed to meet with me and law enforcement on the 24th of this month, so we're gonna meet. But the concerns are legitimate, and I hope they can answer. If not, Ron wants to have an advocate through his sheriff's department, which is fine if that's how it ends up, being resolved. We're just gonna have to make sure we ensure the required privacy concerns. Because an advocate can't tell anybody what they're doing with the victim. They absent a release to that effect. So, that's some of the issue with Riverview is that we can't tell you. Well, I think the concerns they have aren't necessarily related to what they're hearing or doing with advocates. It's more with they're not doing anything when they should, or they're not doing it when they should do it. So, I don't know that action is required today. I'd like to try to do this meeting, see if we can resolve it before we spend any money hiring somebody. If we can't, then we'll be back, won't we, John?
Yes, we will. It's a big frustration with the officers working with sex abuse survivors. We have to interview people and work with these victims in a specific way. We can. It's not like dealing with some other crimes. We have to ensure that this victim is being taken care of. So a lot of the officers' time doesn't involve knowing what these victims and their advocates are doing or talking about. It's more a question of, hey, I need to interview this person, and it's easier for us to call that person's advocate and say, hey, can we have the victim, can I meet with the victim on this date and time, and use that advocate to be the go-between. What we're finding with Riverview is we call Riverview Center, hey, has anyone met with this person yet? That's all we're asking. Have you made contact with this victim? We can't tell you that because of confidentiality. And that's the frustrating part because it kind of hinders our investigation moving forward. Because we're waiting on the advocate to like, yes, we met with this person. We've got services lined up for them, so let's go ahead. It also affects Ray's office where if I have a sex abuse survivor and I know they have a court hearing coming up or a deposition that they're gonna have to attend, it would be nice for Ray to be able to call the Riverview Center and say, I've got a deposition with the survivor on this date. You have an advocate be there and bring that person up and be with that person through this court proceeding. Right now, we call Riverview, we can't talk about it. It's all confidential, which does us absolutely no good.
And the concern is they do have these confidentiality rules they do have to follow. So we have to find a way to ensure that they are meeting with these people and doing what they need to do. One of the complaints involves a young lady that the sheriff's department requested services for. There's supposed to be a 1 hour turnaround with crisis intervention by the advocate. It was 6 days when they met with this individual and they missed 4 appointments with her. So, and we're getting this from the victim directly. So that's the concern. They're just not doing what they need to do timely.
Who were we using prior to? I mean, because we didn't fund them last year. And they're only asking for $4,000 this year.
They have a state, Riverview Center has a contract with the state of Iowa to provide
The
services.
Attorney General primarily funds them.
Right. And we have people already trained for that, don't we? I think they're in Ray's office.
Well,
Is that correct?
well, no.
No?
A sexual abuse advocate is someone who meets with the client, meets with the victim, and helps them get the different services and stuff they need. Our job is to prosecute. Our job is not to help them get their services. I mean, we will if that's what we need to do, obviously, if no one else is doing it. But they need this person independent from us that they can trust, rely on, lean on, go to with, they have a lot of bad days, as you might guess, and the advocate's there to be supportive in those situations. And it's just not something, I'd love to do it out of my office. If the code says I can't have an advocate, the code says I can't have a sexual assault advocate based on my office, which I don't like that. I wish it was, but because originally that's what I wanted to do.
To your right is you sitting there shaking your head yes and no and
Assistant
I'm
County
sorry.
Attorney Megan Hall.
Megan Hall.
Megan.
Yeah.
So
She and I have been working on this together, and it's a very complicated situation. And were the code to allow me to have this person, I would jump on it, but it doesn't allow me to do that.
But what we're looking for is just to alert the board of this potential meeting with the Riverview Center, that there has been problems with services with the Riverview Center. If we can't overcome those problems, what we're kind of asking is, just like we have a mental health advocate that the board is appointed, we'd ask to kind of look at a part-time position from with the county to be a sexual abuse advocate.
go back to my first question. When we didn't have them, didn't fund them, what did you do?
Well, the Riverview Center's been around for
I know, but we
long
didn't fund
time.
it last year.
no, but
They still work though.
Yeah.
Right.
So
They did.
the funding they're requesting is not operational funding. It's the way it's been explained to me is the money they're asking is to provide literature and outreach stuff in Benton County.
Right. So even though we didn't fund any of that in our budget this current year, I guess it is, they still did the outreach for Benton County because they're through the state. That's what you're saying?
They are still supposed to be providing that service through their state
But
funding,
they are not. Okay.
not to our satisfaction.
And John Gish, the Attorney General's office, oversees the program, and I've talked to him on a couple of occasions about our concerns, and he has asked us to keep him updated as
Is
progresses.
there funding available for any of this? Grants or anything for hiring someone part-time or?
That's,
Megan says she can look into that for us, so.
What's the 28E agreement we're in right now with, Buchanan, Iowa, Clayton?
Right.
What's that about?
That's our sexual assault response team.
there are other counties similarly situated, particularly Clayton County and Delaware County. They're covered by the Riverview Center as well. They're in the same region where Riverview's supposed to be giving them services. They become so frustrated, they hire their own advocate.
So that's who we have for this coming.
We had an agreement with Brandy Llewellyn. She just coordinates our response team. So what her responsibilities are is making sure all the pieces are in place. She's been instrumental in working with Virginia Gay Hospital to have sex abuse nurse examiners, sane nurses, and get that program going with the hospital. And she's more of a coordinator. She coordinates training for our detectives, for our community partners, for schools, and the hospital for sex abuse issues. That's what we are paying her for.
So we're already part of the 2080 agreement?
Yes.
We pay that to, Delaware County's at this point.
But once again, that whole area, that 2080 agreement has come out of the fact that the Riverview Center is not providing the services that they should.
So
So those counties have banded together
Yeah.
to try to replicate it.
And
Yeah.
we're
That
part
was when we
of,
stopped funding the Riverview, is when we went to that.
okay. Yeah,
Because we funded Riverview,
I
and then
thought
they
we
went to
went to
that.
something,
and then-
okay.
But they still come forward last year and this year asking for budget funds. The last year we did not, their current fiscal year did not provide it.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
So Ray, would you want me to sit in on your meeting as a mouse in the house?
I think that might be a good idea, actually. And I would welcome that. We're looking at 1:30 on the 24th.
1:30, up to your office?
It's got to be, the jury room, so I think, I think that's where we'll do it. It's my hope we can resolve it, I'm not sure we can, but.
On the 24th.
Yeah, we gotta try.
Good. The next thing, we gotta wait till they come in, right? Oh, maximum levy.
Yep, we'll probably do that. I don't think there's anybody from the public here for that, but, yeah. So the maximum levy that I published in the paper was before I amended the values, obviously. But, so we can't go over what I put for the actual levies. So I kept them the same as last year. And here's the resolution with the dollars for the general county. That would be general basic and general supplemental is $10,067,421. And rural services, $4,426,256. So what this does today is you guys are approving that we are not gonna ask for more than that when we do our other budget hearing, so. And since we did increase over the 2%, it has to go for a vote. Resolutions, we have to make sure it passes.
Oh, here.
Yep. So I kept the rural service levy at 3.95, general basic is 3.5, because that's the max. And then the general sup was 2, because the general services on that is combined general basic and general sup. And I did print you guys
I was gonna say,
What I've gotten so far, I mean, other than like the public health stuff, I put in all of our expenditures, playing around with revenues. Yeah, so it's just a matter of you guys are fine tuning it, because if we keep our hearing date for April 4th, I need to have this to the paper no later than March 15th. And with me leaving this week, I kind of want to get it done, or if you guys are still wanting to tweak, then maybe I can just push off the budget hearing since we have till April 30th.
I think we talked about tweaking that.
yes, we have.
But you're not gonna increase more.
No,
So
no.
possibly, unless I increase the public health portion, is the part I'm concerned about what we're gonna do right now. Because if you increase in other departments, then
That'd be about the only one that I can think of right now.
Public health,
Health,
yeah. So,
And like I said, it's too soon to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
I guess throwing it out there, if we could, we'll send it.
so if you,
Close the hearing.
yeah, if you open it up to the public, there's somebody here outside.
Do you motion to close the hearing?
Second.
Okay.
So you need a motion to approve the maximum levy. What is set forth in your resolution? That is my motion.
Second,
By resolution,
Bremer, aye.
yours ain't got
Seaman,
And if you wanna sign that, because I do have to keep that with the budget.
We all need to sign it?
Yes.
Okay. Just
I
sign it.
assumed you all voted yes, but
We'll
before, but
just-
since I don't have to change it,
Sign it,
or just put like by your name with the X that you voted
put
yes.
an X.
See where it says voted yes on the left?
Yeah, you want an X? Or you want an initial?
Or initial, whatever. This one's the state format, it's not my normal format, so that's why. It's one of the requirements. So those budgets that have been published, what we're doing is having to make sure that with the values, because we did lose taxable value, obviously. We have to roll back to. Thank you.
you did lose some of
Yep, because the rollback is higher for residential, so
them?
I reduced that down a little bit.
All right, May.
She's not here yet.
Oh, not here yet.
Yeah.
One in May.
Gentlemen, if you don't know, Ed Haley, Bethany is down there, that's the mental health advocate.
Nice to meet you then.
We did talk about here, we need to make a decision, what do you think about raising that one bit on the middle, Yeah. You're up, Dave.
Oh, we are. Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were finished. You have something else?
I have you down for the memorandum of understanding.
Yeah. So, well, good morning.
Morning.
Good to see you guys. We have a slightly, if you remember, let me give you some context. Beginning last year, we asked, because of the change in the funding, remember from the county funding to state funding, we asked each board to sign a memorandum of understanding every year to say, this is how the region will reimburse. Remember, we give you the money before the quarter begins, rather than waiting for after like we used to do, to give you the money upfront for all of the administrative expenses. So with the MOU, it's time for us to sign another MOU, and this one will be in effect July 1st of 23 until June 30th of 24. So we're looking at next fiscal year. The MOU itself has changed slightly, and you all do have a copy of this, right? Did we get that?
Yep, I did. I don't know if I forwarded it to you, but I printed that one out right now. So, it's got the highlighted changes though, right?
Oh, fantastic, yeah, you've got the one that has the highlighted
Yeah,
changes.
that's the one Mona gave me.
Okay.
That's
Do you have
it.
an extra copy of it?
I don't, I can email.
I can go, actually, I got
to you,
the,
Ray.
I was gonna say, I can email it, or I can go print copies if you guys need them as well.
Yeah.
We're gonna see it here momentarily.
Okay, well, I will go print them.
I didn't know if there was any changes, because you gave me that a few weeks ago.
We just got the fresh copy this morning that has the actual names filled in,
Oh,
and
okay.
so.
Yeah, then I don't have that one.
Okay. Well, I'll print them off for you. So a couple of changes to the basis of the MOU. We have item number 4 and items number 4, 5, and 6, when you have a chance to look at it. Just a little bit more clarification about the relationship between the counties and the region as far as employment. Each one of our employees is an employee of their county, but according to the 2080, there's the responsibility to the region, right? So, for example, Mona's salary is paid 100% by the region. In the 2080, it says Mona is accountable to myself and to the regional governing board. So we put that into the MOU a little bit. Item number 4 says, the 28E contemplates that the region's executive officer, coordinators of disability services, and all support staff will be made up of and will remain employees of their individual counties and subject to the county's personnel policies and the region's applicable policies and procedures. We added that part in about the region's applicable policies and procedures because we're getting into a situation where we're trying to be a little bit more centralized. For example, the regional governing board last week, 2 weeks ago, just approved for us to have a regional credit card. So there's a policy regarding the use of that credit card. So we wanted to add in here, besides their county policies for employment, they're subject to the regional policies as well. Number 5 says the county's assignment of the employee to the region is subject to the review of the governing board. Again, that has always been the case. That was in the 2080 when, if you remember, when you hired Mona, then her appointment had to be approved by the regional governing board. That's just putting that, very clearly in there. And then number 6, pursuant to the 2080, the portion of the employee's time and responsibilities that are performed on behalf of the region has the authority to review the employee's performance and make recommendations that are communicated to the county board of supervisors regarding the employee's continued appointment by the regional governing board. This gives a little bit more teeth to, in the 2080 agreement, that it says employees are responsible to myself and to the regional governing board, and that we'll be in communication with you if there's like a problem, then I would want to communicate with you because you deserve to understand what any of those problems are. And so then it would just be a communication, and at some point, should the regional governing board decide that the person can no longer be a good faith representative of the county, then we would communicate that to you as well. So those are the changes to the MOU. Any questions about that or comments?
I have some comments about it.
Yeah.
Iowa Code Section 2.919, which provides for the role of an advocate, says that the advocate cannot be an employee of the region. I think this memorandum of understanding is basically backdooring that statute to gain the kind of control an employer would have, even though the code says that you cannot be an employee of the region. I think the region has the right to review her hours and people served and things like that, but if you're going to supervise, that makes her your employee, and I think that violates this other statute.
Sure, Ray, I thank you, and I get that point. This MOU does not address the advocate at all. This MOU, when we get to the amendment or to the attachment, we will, but this basic part, the part that we're asking the board to sign, talks about the chief executive officer, the coordinators of disability, and all support staff. It does not address the advocate for the basis of the MOU.
So why is there an attached exhibit to the advocate if this doesn't apply to the advocate?
Okay, I'll get to that in a minute, okay?
I'm curious to hear that answer.
Yeah, I have an answer. First of all, any questions about the MOU then? Okay, so, and then we have attachment A, which says how much of Mona's salary, how much of Melissa's, and how much of Sarah's salary will be reimbursed by the region. Okay, that's that. Now, exhibit B, which is about the advocate. So this does not talk about the supervision of the advocate. This attachment B is providing for us some standardization across our region. We have 8 advocates for 9 counties, and we have some differences about how the advocates do their work. So irrespective of who supervises them, we would like to have some consistency of the advocates' activities throughout our 9 counties. So you will see here in the attachment B, or I'm sorry, exhibit, I keep saying attachment, it's called exhibit B, that we say the advocate will do everything that is in 229.19, that's the law. We don't want to ask the advocate to do anything that is outside of what is prescribed for them in the law. We want them to do the HIPAA training. I think that's reasonable to say they should have the confidentiality training every year. The mandatory reporter training, I believe that's, ethically part of their responsibilities anyway. Enter new and update newly assigned individuals into CSN. So CSN is our standardized system for us to track people's services, to make sure that people are getting the appropriate amount of services, and that when they are receiving the services of an advocate, that we're able to track that as well.
That's only if they release that information.
Right, there's a CSN release that we have that is
If they
available.
don't assign it, then you can't report that stuff.
I believe there's a section in CSN for us to indicate that the person, there's some basic demographic information, but there's a section for us to say, yes, they've signed a CSN release or not. And so then we can't have the access, you're correct.
So basically, the information is in CSN, but it's blurred out for everybody except for the advocate.
Okay.
So again, a couple of CSN bullets there, just the work in CSN, and then managing confidential and secure files for each individual. Follow the code section regarding their frequency of contact that they should have with the people who are under committal in their county, and then submit that list by the 15th of the month to have it just like, here are the people I saw last month, entered into CSN by the 15th of the month. So, and then participate in our quality assurance process as delineated in 441.25. So there's nothing in this MOU about the supervision. There is a requirement in the code that the advocate be assigned a supervisor. I know that throughout the state, there is a lot of interpretation of what that means. Bottom line, the code says that the Board of Supervisors shall decide. You have every authority to decide who the supervisor of the advocate will be. There's interpretation of the code that it should be the coordinator, that it shouldn't be the coordinator, that it should just be the Board of Supervisors. I'm sure Ray is here to give you advice. I can give you, not necessarily advice, but I can give you what happens in other parts of our region. And it's really for your decision about who you think is the appropriate person to supervise, Bethany. Whoever it is, we will ask them to hold her accountable to the bullets in this MOU if you choose to sign this exhibit B of the MOU.
I brought copies of the statute for the 3 of you.
Can I hand them out?
Yeah.
We have actually 229.19. We have Iowa Code 441.25, 229, which actually is the advocate responsibilities by the Iowa Code, Administrative Code. That's the first. The highlighted portion is actually who can manage it, and then the county's responsibilities as by the Iowa Administrative Code as well. I will not give you the MOU that we had originally got.
So previously, Debbie was being supervised by Dave, which I kind of understand why now, since she can't be a region employee, but my concern is if I can't have a sexual assault advocate working out of my office, how can I have a mental health one working out of my office? I think it's the same issue. So it comes down to who would supervisor. I guess the board could themselves. Ron has offered to do it, and I don't think that's a bad outcome. As long as he can, provide the necessary confidentiality, which I don't think would be an issue. But really, someone needs to be in that role, statutorily be in that role, supervising it, and can provide the necessary reports and stuff to Mona. So, but I think 229.19 is very clear about what her responsibilities are when she has to visit. And to follow up a little bit, Megan and I read the statute, and we actually put some time into this, and we realized the magistrates weren't doing it right. They weren't handling this issue correctly at all. So we had a meeting with them yesterday, and they're gonna start a new practice, appointing her at the proper time with the proper authority to do her job, because they weren't appointing her in a way that would allow her to get into hospitals sometimes. And so I think this whole discussion is ending up being very beneficial for people who are struggling with mental health issues. They'll have an advocate that can be much more effective. And Bethany does a good job. We don't want to lose her as our advocate. So.
The only reason I'm here is because Ron is under the weather, but I was supposed to convey that Ron has had discussions with Ray and Bethany, and he is willing to supervise Bethany.
If the supervisors would, please consider the MOU. I mean, I think the discussion about the supervision is a separate action. I think we were on the agenda first to consider the MOU and address that, and then I'm happy to get into more discussion about that supervision.
I guess the only thing I have questions, we can do the first contract, the 28E, and the Exhibit A that you got. I have no problem with that. But when you come to Exhibit B, I would like to ask Bethany some of these questions that go on here. You've been doing them, or haven't you been doing them? But let's address the first thing first, okay?
Yeah.
And I take a motion from one of you guys.
You don't wanna do it all together with A
Well,
and B,
we can,
rather than,
that's fine.
I think that would be the way to go. So if we have questions, let's go for it.
You got any?
No, you have questions.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Have you been, like, on the first, you got a copy of this, do you? Or maybe you don't.
I have a copy of the draft. I haven't seen the
Okay.
updated one, which I think is
The only thing that's different is your name is spelled wrong, that's all.
Okay, we'll go right down the line real quick. Have you been completing all the duties online?
outlined in Iowa Code 220.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And as of right now, we'll stay on this for a second. Everything that you've been doing, is there anybody that double checks what you've been doing?
I keep files.
Yeah.
In this agreement, it talks about documenting in CSN. We're not required to document in CSN. I keep physical files, which has my documentation in it.
Where are those stored if you don't work in an office?
They are stored in a locked file cabinet in my office that I work from home.
Okay, so they're stored in
The
your
advocate
house.
has always worked from home, and we follow the HIPAA guidelines outlined from whenever I started in 2006. So all my documentation is in my physical files. But nobody, David has never asked to see the files, and the only person who can access my files is my direct supervisor.
Okay. Is that when you file it, or have you filed it with the state? Some of the reports and everything?
The only thing we have to file with the state is our annual data for DHS, which I use CSN for. That's the only thing I use CSN for. And because I put it in CSN, when that report is due every December 1st, CSN just generates the report, so the county doesn't have to submit it itself. If I were to do the annual data on an Excel spreadsheet, the county would have to submit it separately. And we do not, we are not required to get CSN releases for our clients. I have tried a couple of times, but my clients who have paranoia, it does not go over well. Trying to explain the CSN system is difficult for some clients to comprehend. And on those releases, I think there are several different items that they can sign off on. And for some, it's just too much at once. And again, we are not required to document in CSN. So it's not part of our job duties either in Code 229 or the Iowa Administrative Code.
So on the amendment, Exhibit B, is there anything out of that, what, they got kind of down there on paper, anything that kind of jumps out at you that you can't, no, I can't make that work?
I'm not going to document in CSN. Even though CSN guarantees confidentiality, there are concerns that people can access information just by accident. It's not that people are intentionally looking for it. But I prefer physical files because sometimes I will take the files to visit the client because they like to see their current court order that they are supposed to receive, but they may have lost it or they don't believe that they're committed. They want to see the recent medical report. So it's just more convenient for me to keep physical files, and it's just an easier process for my clients as well to provide a better communication with them. That's the only thing on here that I would not do. And it's not in Code 229 or the Iowa Administrative Code. And and I'm not sure what is participate in the region's quality assurance process.
What's that one? 441-25.107, the quality assurance process that the advocates have to go through.
But that's, in that code it says county. Because we're county employees. The advocate is a county employee. So I don't know, that's the only other thing is about the quality assurance. Because that's the county responsibility for a county employee.
Now, over the past year, how many, I'm looking for a number, definitely no names. How many clients have you worked with here?
My caseload averages, I think right now I have about 39, and it's never gone over, I think, 55 since I started in 2015.
Really?
So the 50 is about average.
For the fiscal year, a fiscal year?
That's nothing compared to Dubuque and Lynn County and Johnson County.
I know I'm not sure why, because I know you currently carry people in Lynn County that are not currently in RCF that are living in Lynn County.
I don't have any Lynn County.
You have multiple Lynn County. There's two right off the top of my head right here that are not living in RCF in Lynn County that are currently that you just saw in January. And
So those ones are supposed to have been
in December.
Transferred.
So they're being transferred to Amy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's have some perspective that Bethany is correct. Lynn County is far more, around 400 people on her caseload. The advocate in Lynn County places all of her contacts in CSN. We are not asking our advocates to give up their paper files because they do. They travel and they need to take them with.
we're asking them to document their interactions with people in CSN so we can keep track to make sure that the advocacy is happening so that if we need to authorize further services for a person, it's all in one electronic record. So we're not asking people to give up their current recording system. We're asking for region-wide to standardize this, that all advocates will place all of their contact information into CSN so that we have that electronic record for us to be able to pull reports.
Other counties do that,
7 of our 9 counties do, Tracy.
so two people, two counties.
The only county that doesn't have an advocate right now, so technically one.
They're asking for something that isn't statutorily required, and I understand why they're asking for it. But they're asking, they're trying to get around the statute a little bit.
The committal process is very confidential, again.
Extremely.
And again, the region has no authority in our position. And let me just go back. Back in 2013 or 14, the advocates, prior to 2015, we were state employees, hired by the court, but the county had to pay for it. It was the stupidest setup. We were all set to go under the Department of Inspection and Appeals. Our role is to be neutral. We are not to have any conflict with any other entity involved in the committal process. Because our role, the advocate role, is similar to the respondent's attorney when they are represented in a committal hearing. We are to protect our clients' rights while they are court ordered to treatment. It was a conflict having us under the court, and the Department of Inspection and Appeals was all set to take us under their wing. It's a neutral party. They have nothing to do with the committal process. They would oversee everything. Governor Branstad line item vetoed that. So then in 2015, we became county employees. And in Code 229-19, where it lists the advocate duties, it specifically states that the advocate cannot be an employee of DHS or the region, or be a county employee that does work for the region or DHS. That was put into Code 229 to avoid conflicts within the county. And there really is no department in the county that the advocate fits under. The only two entities that really know the committal process are the county attorney's office and probably the sheriff's department. And there is an issue now in many counties where the region has been actually placed under the region. They're considered region employees. In fact, one advocate actually reports to the CEO of that particular region. And I know that there is a complaint statewide being made to the Office of the Ombudsman for these regions that have taken the advocate under their umbrella. The advocates are also probably going to be reported because it is a conflict of interest to be under the region, to have anything to do with the region. And the advocate ethically cannot take to task a court, a provider, or the region for not doing their job, for not following the law when the advocate themselves is not following the law. And that role of the advocate, it has to be very clear-cut, neutral. And again, what me and Mona are presenting, the majority of this is in Code 229 and the Iowa Administrative Rules. But I don't think that the region can expect, all the advocates to do their job exactly the same way, because we are a county employee. Not every county auditor does their job the same way. You know, not every county board of supervisors does their job the same way. And the sheriff's department in our counties do not do their job the same way. So I know for a fact that not every sheriff department, when they get an order from the court to take the person into immediate custody, Benton County, when they get that order, they go pick those people up. I know at least 2 counties that will wait. In fact, one county has waited 3 months to take somebody in to custody. So the sheriffs don't do their job the same way. So again, the advocate is a county employee, not a regional employee. Our funding, the only reason we're funded by out of the region or DHS is because there's no other funding stream. The sheriff's department, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, but when they get an order to pick somebody up, they submit, you get reimbursed from the region, don't you, for the fee and for the mileage?
Yes.
And the respondents attorneys, I believe, are paid. Do they submit their billing to you guys, or?
I'm not sure why that's germane to the conversation.
But it's, well, the advocate, you're singling out the advocates. You know, do you have an MOU for the sheriff's department through the 9 counties in our region that they're doing their job the same way? That they're picking up people, you know, in the same time frame that the law requires them to.
Different statute. Let's keep in mind here that none of the regional staff are regional staff. They're all county employees. Every single one of us are county employees. We don't have regional staff. When a person's salary is paid 100% by the region, then we have a little bit of an expectation. We're not asking our advocates to belie any confidentiality. We're not asking them to put in information into CSN that would violate the law. Unless they have a release, then it's law that they can put this stuff in. We're not asking for any of that for them to violate confidentiality. We're asking for accountability to track the contacts with the people that they support. The issue of supervision keeps getting blended into this conversation. I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about within this MOU as far as the accountability of tracking work.
What troubles me about this is the code makes it clear that the region has no authority to supervise this person. And this agreement is trying to get that authority over some of what her duties are, or to exercise authority to require her. I think this agreement said the county shall provide the following information in exchange for providing funds to be fined. But it doesn't exist in 2019. The supervisory, which is what they're asking for essentially, the supervisory authority is not authorized in the code.
What we're asking is that whatever county board of supervisors chooses the supervisor to hold the advocate accountable for this work.
And we're fine with that. We're fine with that.
I get that, but she doesn't use this CSN, correct?
I only use CSN for the data that we're required to submit to DHS on an annual basis.
Okay.
And that's what she's required to do.
Okay, which is what this states in here, is that she's required to enter or update newly assigned individuals.
No, this is on like a monthly basis. She does it by the code on an annual basis. The region is asking for a monthly update of every person who has a committal.
Which isn't
If they
required.
sign a release. And then if it's not signed, then it's blanked out on the website. They can't access that. But they would want her to enter everything in, I think, by the 15th of each month.
I'd like to point out that HHS had to give Bethany about 2 reminders, and her data this year was 3 months late, submitting that to the department.
No, it wasn't.
Well, that's what they were telling me, that they couldn't get a hold of you and that you
Well,
wouldn't respond to any of their emails.
And actually,
they
I
didn't have
did,
information.
and the information was due by December 1st. That's when they run the report. And that's when my information was in. And I did bring that email, which, I literally forgot to respond to him. And that email proves that we do not need to document NCSN because he sent out an email to all the advocates that wanting to know, they do this every year, wanting to know if we are going to submit the data by CSN or by the Excel. And yeah, here it is. So when Mona told you that we are required to document in CSN, again, that is not accurate because, yeah, the email was from the end of September and asking all the advocates if they were going to submit their data via CSN or by the Excel. And again, the information is due by December 1st, and that's what the information in mine was. We always make sure it's due by December 1st. And again, that if that was an issue, then he should address that with David, who was my supervisor at the time. That I'm an county employee, if there was an issue that they weren't getting their information on time, that should have been addressed with David, not the region.
So I see why you wanted to exclude Exhibit B from the MOU.
That's all we've been talking about now.
Yeah.
I got a proposal, but we talked about this the last couple times I met with you now, Ray. I hate to be biting more of the apple, I keep doing it anymore. But I was willing to be her supervisor for a year. This memorandum is only good for a year, right?
Correct.
So we'll be back at it again,
Absolutely.
you know.
But this is part of the MOU.
Right.
And so what I'm hearing is this really needs to get put off to the side and go with the MOU.
Like I said, I have no problem with the first one. The second one I got, you know, this is kind of all new. I'm getting a crash course on this the last 2 weeks.
Well, we just got the last 20 minutes.
So, I still,
And
and I guess that's some of the things that, I mean, we gotta make a move on this, you know, one way or another. I gotta get it, but then again, I would like to meet with Bethany, so I kinda wanna know what's the supervisor, you know, what do I gotta do to watch over you? 'Cause I'm not coming to wherever you got your files, I want nothing to do with that. Just, you know,
But you've already got the sheriff who, I mean, he's had his training with mental health, et cetera.
but see, I'm looking at it.
The
My
sheriff has to
personal
execute
opinion.
the committals, that could also be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Basically be a
why-
completely neutral party.
Yeah.
May I'm the prosecuting attorney for Ray that does the mental health committals. The extent of the sheriff's involvement in a mental health committal is to pick up and transport. They don't attend hearings, they have no say in what happens in the process. They're court ordered to pick someone up and they're simply driving people. I would argue it's not a conflict of interest when
By the time the advocate is appointed, the sheriff's office has already concluded all this business.
Let's keep in mind that a lot of people who are committed often have intersection with law enforcement. And so it's not, and we're in a rural enough county, right? There's relationships and the sheriff's deputies and the sheriff often know those people who frequently need services and need that commitment. So it's more than just executing the commitment. Oftentimes, I don't know necessarily in Benton County, but in a lot of counties, sometimes those law enforcement officers are the ones that sign the committal papers. And so when that situation is happening, that's when it becomes a conflict of interest.
I had Tracy, I guess if you wanted to supervise, I could sit down with you and Renee, or both of us, to sit down and go through the code, make sure you understand what the responsibilities are, if that's what you prefer.
What's up to these guys if they're willing?
Are you nuts?
I know. I thought, like, because I had a discussion with this yesterday.
I have never had a client complain about the sheriff's involvement. I have not had any clients complain about the police filing on them. And a lot of times, my clients, their doctor, are the ones that have filed on them. Filing commitment can breach trust. I've had clients, fire their doctors because they got filed on and stuff. But overall, it's something that is not an issue.
Like I said, I was just throwing it out for a 1-year trial basis.
Well, I have no problem with the memorandum through Exhibit A. I have a problem with Exhibit B, obviously. And so if we have to get moving, can we pull Exhibit B out? That's a question, legal people.
I certainly would have a problem with
It has a
that.
separate signature line.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all.
I'll make a motion that we go with the memorandum here of understanding through Exhibit A, excluding Exhibit B. That should be clear now.
I'll second it.
We're gonna vote.
Is this a resolution, or is this just a vote?
I think we did a resolution to adopt the memorandum.
I think, other
Okay.
committees have.
Primer aye.
There's a guy.
Seaman on it.
Okay, got that part. Okay. That part's taken care of.
Now, for Exhibit B, again, not to confuse the issue with the level of supervision, is the region is asking the same documentation requirement of all advocates. That's the bottom line for Exhibit B. Do you agree, as a partner in this region, that you should hold your advocate accountable to the expectations that we're setting for all 9 advocates, or not?
You're asking this, now legally can they, you can ask for anything, but legally does Bethany have to supply this to the region? Legally?
22919 provides certain reporting requirements. They're not as extensive as what they're asking for, but she does have some reporting requirements under that section. They're wanting more detailed, more frequent,
It's the frequency.
yeah.
And all of our advocates in every other county provide it monthly,
And that,
and they provide it in CSN already. We are within the scope of our law. We're not asking for more information than what ethically and legally Bethany is bound to. Because that's that CSN release, and if the person doesn't sign it, we don't get that information.
I guess if I were crafting a motion, I would put it in terms of the advocate shall comply with all the terms of 22.19 and their job duties, and then whoever her supervisor is, they get that information, they can forward it to this region.
Well, basically, with this exhibit, is we're either gonna go with their exhibit or not. Is basically what it amounts to.
I don't have
I
this kind of
think
answer.
it goes beyond what the code requires.
Yeah, good.
Their accountability for regional funds.
No, city controls that answer. We should have to.
And essentially what this exhibit is requiring the county to provide that information. Because it will go through your supervisor. If the county requires her to provide that much, then the county should provide it. Because she cannot answer to the region under the code.
That's what I'm saying. So we're asking that her supervisor would hold her accountable to all of the bullets in that MOU.
Which means they're essentially trying to control her through a supervisor.
Well, I understand the supervisor part, and she's had one.
Oh, it's required that she have on the code.
Yes, okay. And I have no problem with the sheriff's office having it, the sheriff having it. I have no problem with that. I think, no offense, but Tracy, you don't have the background for that, where the sheriff does. And so, you know, admirable that you're willing to take it on, but I think it's a mistake. I think it should be sheriff's office. Whether or not we should require more than the code requires, I don't know if we need to. You know, I get doing things longhand and in paper, etc. I understand that completely. I have a heck of a time filing things online anymore. So, but
My 2 cents from the sheriff's office would be, this should be an ongoing discussion between the sheriff, Bethany, and the region of, let's come up with something that works for everybody.
I think you're right. I mean, just to throw this out now for a half hour or whatever it's been, it's just, you guys need to get your heads together, you know,
Correct.
and come up with what's gonna work, in my opinion. What's your other 2 opinions here?
All right, through my number.
Well, you were willing to be a supervisor. So if you were a supervisor, would you want to work it out between, you know, the 3 of you and then come back?
Well, like I said, that's why I need to ask Bethany here, what is the job description of being her boss? You know, what can I, you know, I can see your time card, you know, where you worked at, where you went at. And I don't wanna see a name, like I said, but this is where I went to the sheriff's office, and I was there for an hour, and then I went to the courthouse on Tuesday, and I was there for 3 hours at the courthouse, you know.
There is in the Iowa Administrative Court Rules, there is a section on the county's responsibility for the advocate. I don't know if I have that.
Are you talking about the quality assurance system? Code?
Yeah,
Are you in that one? You guys have a copy of it.
Yeah, which one is it?
Yep, 441, 25.55, 229, county responsibilities.
Assign a single supervisor, starts out,
Yeah.
highlighted.
Yep.
See, that's what caught my eye yesterday.
Could make a motion to appoint you, Rick.
Yes.
And Gary, the actual region rep stuff.
You also have the other Iowa Administrative Code, which lists the advocate's responsibilities under the Administrative Code. So that is the other non-stapled document, a single page that you have.
Advocate responsibilities, 441-25.54, parentheses 229.
Yep.
Okay.
So those 2 things tell you everything that's required essentially.
Mhm. I don't have a photographic memory, so, okay. Well, I think John is correct. I think, whoever the supervisor is gonna be, the advocate, the county attorney's office, the region, I mean, need to get their heads together, wrap around this. And I'm in favor of the sheriff actually being the supervisor. No offense to you. In fact, that's my motion. I'd recommend, my motion is that the sheriff be the advocate supervisor.
He's not even here.
Yeah, he's not here to defend himself.
Well, I would say, you
That's
wanna
what
wait
he
till
do.
they at least meet.
Well, who's gonna meet? You gotta have a supervisor.
I met with Sheriff and John last Friday for about 2 hours.
Okay. And decided that you know, the sheriff would be willing to do this, right?
Yes.
That was my motion then.
You want a second?
I don't know. I guess, if he's willing to do it, but he's not here.
He is willing to do it.
Okay, I'll second it.
Call for a vote.
Fine.
Hershank, aye.
Aye.
And I think you guys get together and come up with some sort of workable
At
solution.
some point, you're going to need to address Exhibit B.
I understand.
I understand, Rick, like what you're talking about, get together and work it out. We're not gonna change Exhibit B because this is a standard document for all 9 counties. So at some point, you all are gonna have to make the decision if you're gonna hold the applicant accountable to the standardization that we're trying to create across our region.
And so
I don't know if that's today or a different day, right?
correct. You know,
But it's not gonna
when they get
change the
together and
line.
come back
Right.
to us and say, yeah, we don't want to do this, or yeah, let's get her done, you know, one way or another. I think that's what we're looking for, right? Why do I feel I'm so damn vocal?
Isn't it the board's decision for you guys to implement that or not? It has nothing to do with Bethany's feelings, it has nothing to do with the sheriff's feelings, it has nothing to do with our feelings. It's you guys' decision whether or not that is implemented in that form itself does not change based on who the supervisor is, what she
Don't
wants to
worry, Troy
do.
asked me today.
So
I'd rather
it's
take
you guys'
the advice.
decision. I mean, it's what it comes down to.
Well, it has to go back before the board, but at least I'd like to be able to go back before the board when this comes up again. I'd like to be able to report to the board. We had a discussion, we're willing to do this, at least be able to report something about some negotiations.
Sounds like they either want a yes or no.
Yes.
And like I said, Rick, it doesn't have to be today. But I'm just saying, like,
I
that's a
appreciate
decision
that.
by your board about, this is what the region is asking, not just of Benton County, of every single one of our counties, to create some standardization across our region. We have a goal in our strategic plan about being a cohesive region, and if one county or 2 counties, you know, go rogue, just because an advocate doesn't want to put something into CSN to have that standardized accountability, then it's not a cohesive region. And I'm not saying cohesive region means everybody has to go along with what we want. But if I have 7 counties tell me this is not right, then that's fine. Cohesive region means we change our mind. But I got 7 counties right now saying, yeah, this is reasonable and we're doing it. So.
I don't know if I would classify following the code as going rogue. Things that can
Well-
scream.
You guys will have to work it out.
Yep.
Through the sheriff.
And get back on the agenda, please. Anything else?
That's it.
I want some
Thank
copy
you.
of this today, I don't know.
Do you have the one that's not highlighted? Yes, that's okay. Yeah.
So
So these,
I was gonna say, yeah, that's what I brought in, it was
so board chair, wait,
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Ray.
yes, and then the exhibit A.
Give me a call.
And then once I do it.
All in favor?
Yes, yes, how are you?
You have a second,
Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to have the owner's office and make a copy, or do you want to scan it and email it?
Oh, I can scan it.
Okay, great.
Sure, I just didn't want to hold you up anymore.
No,
She's
fine.
got some copy.
Well, yeah,
We need
can
you
sign
to
too.
sign. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I see what you're
I
saying.
got a copy.
Let's both
Yeah.
sign one and then she can take one out.
So then we need you to sign attachment A. It's just the,
And if you email me the new version.
lines on
I
side.
would,
It's
a
a
Word,
Word.
a Word document on and put it in. Yeah, just do it there.
Do you want me to just scan in the signed copies? Versus the one?
No, if it's in a Word document, then I can just simply put it in my resolution.
I will forward them now. This one, that's your number, and Sarah's. Signs the other copy.
Taylor, we adjourned if you want to stop that thing.
Oh, you did?
Gary sends that, he's our representative, he's already